welcome to the Wellness Hub podcast, a show dedicated to uncovering the future of healthy living. Each week, we aim to bring you content that supports your personal health journey through insightful conversations with amazing guests. We explore various topics ranging from healthy eating, technology, fitness, mindfulness, and more. Now let's join our host, Drew Munro, co-founder and CEO of UpMeals, a Vancouver-based food tech startup on a mission to make healthy meals accessible through technology.
Hello and welcome to the Wellness Hub. As always, we're thrilled to have you with us for yet another edition of Wellness Wednesdays. Every single week, we're hosting amazing guests and having insightful conversations into food, technology, mindfulness, entrepreneurship, and more. And as always, we hope you find these conversations valuable and insightful on your own wellness journey. Tonight, our conversation centers around the ever-growing and dynamic spaces of plant-based cuisine and ghost kitchens, focusing on our special guest's unique journey and style. If you take part in a plant-based lifestyle today in any way, all I can say is what a time to be alive. There are more amazing options available than ever before, and this sector's massive growth shows no signs of slowing down. Our special guest tonight is another one of these plant-based pioneers. Originally from Vietnam, she's a trained chef who's built a unique business showcasing plant-based Vietnamese cuisine through a ghost kitchen model. We're gonna learn more about her incredible entrepreneurial story, her exciting plans for the future, and some of her thoughts on how the plant-based movement will continue to evolve and grow in the coming years. Tonight, at the center of our discussion are these important topics, and as always, we will be taking questions throughout the show. So please, if you're listening on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, please comment, ask us your questions. We will be answering them all throughout the show. So without further ado, please welcome our special guest this evening, the founder of Chầm Vegan Vietnamese, Chef Kim Vo. Kim, welcome to the Wellness Hub.
Hi, nice to see you here, Drew. Thanks.
Perfect. Well, yes, thank you so much for joining us. And so, Kim, you were born in Vietnam and you moved to Canada when you were only 4 years old. Do you have any distinct memories of your childhood in Vietnam, and what was it like growing up in Canada for you?
You know what, I don't, because I left when I was just a baby. We were refugees. So my family and I left for Malaysia as boat refugees. And we spent 2 years at the refugee camp in Malaysia. So I don't have too many memories of Vietnam.
Wow. And so talk to me, what was it like then? How did you arrive in Canada, and what was it like to grow up here after that, that incredible, experience of immigrating?
So actually we were sponsored by the Mennonite Church, and we ended up in Winnipeg, Manitoba, of all places, in the middle of November. So
wow.
It was quite cold and quite challenging. But my parents somehow managed to raise me. We ate a lot of Vietnamese food at home. We didn't really get a chance to try too many different international cuisines because we were refugees and my parents were used to only eating one thing. So I grew up eating Vietnamese food at home.
Wow, and to speak to your point about my mom was born in Winnipeg. I know exactly what a Winnipeg winter. Yeah,
wow.
I know exactly what a Winnipeg winter is like, and even for Canadians, it's intense. I can only imagine what it was like for you coming from Vietnam. Must have been such an adjustment. And so you mentioned it briefly. Tell me a little bit about your relationship with food growing up. Where did your love of food come from, and how has it developed?
So we grew up from I grew up in a very, my parents were blue-collar workers, so we didn't get a chance to go out to eat a lot. A lot of our meals were cooked at home, and so I really appreciated my mother's home cooking. So every Saturday, she would make a big pot of pho, and I would smell it from upstairs and be really excited to come down. So really, I think my love for food really developed from my mother's home cooking.
And it's obviously influenced your life in such an incredible way. Even we see you're dialing into us now from a kitchen. I can see all the crazy the sounds and I'm sure the sights behind you. So it's obviously such a huge part of your life. But I know you do actually a lot of work as well in the charity sector. You work with the Vietnamese Women's Association and Family Services. Tell me a little bit about your work with them and what that means to you.
So I've worked with the VWAT Family Services in the past. I've helped, sorry, just go behind me. So I would lead classes. I would work with seniors directly, newcomers, and it's all about getting them. I think I lost you for a second.
Oh, we're just showing a photo. Don't worry. Yeah, it's just a photo of you cooking. Don't worry about that.
Okay. So I really love working with the community because you get to learn so much about the different backgrounds, different stories of people coming from all over different parts of Vietnam. Because I think one thing that people don't realize is that Vietnam is so diverse itself, and so all of the different regions, there's different stories from different regions, different types of cuisine. So even though it may be Vietnamese or Vietnamese people, we come from like different pockets inside Vietnam, and so there's so much diversity even within one country. Just like I guess in Canada, here with different communities, and I think that's something that people don't know, and it's something that I try to explore in my cuisine as well. The differences in regional cooking.
That was one thing that actually blew me away. I spent 5 weeks in Vietnam, traveling from north to south and eating everything in my path. And I was actually so blown away by the regions and how different the food was as I traveled throughout the country. It actually was so surprising that a lot of the dishes that perhaps are popular here in Canada are a lot of them aren't represented well from the dishes that are in Vietnam. Like, it was just such a broad array, and my mind was blown. Probably one of the favorite places I've ever visited. And what I find really interesting is that you actually traveled back to Vietnam to do your professional culinary training where you were born. So tell me a little bit about that experience and why you made that decision.
I made that decision because I wanted a different perspective. The cooking schools here, they don't offer too many classes on Asian cooking, especially with Vietnamese cuisine. It might be an added option that you can take. But I wanted a different perspective. I wanted, to learn different narratives and cooking. For me, I think that there's no, one way to cook. There's different perspectives, there's different narratives. There's so much history in cooking, and so I think that the one model at most culinary schools in North America and Europe, I think it's not enough. You need to get out there and you need to explore different angles, and so I really like that. So that's why I decided to just try something different and learn different approaches to cooking.
And we're
the Vietnamese way is a lot different. It's not a lot different, but here in North America, we focus a lot on like salt management, whereas like in Vietnam, because of the climate, it's so hot, and so there's a lot of focus on moisture management. And
yes.
in my concept too, it's it's takeout and delivery, and so I'm always checking to see if the moisture level is okay. I don't want anything too soggy. I don't want too much salt in my food. It's going to pull out too much moisture. There's all of these things to consider, and learning that in Vietnam, I think, is very helpful.
Yeah, that's a really fascinating perspective. And so at that point when you made that trip, I mean, were you already sure that this was what you wanted to pursue? Were you sure that food was what you wanted to pursue professionally?
Yes, absolutely. I think that when you just know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was like that for you, but I absolutely love cooking, and I love cooking Vietnamese food. I love learning about my my culture, my heritage, where the food came from. There's all these little things like how the rice was grown, the people behind it, many different faces, so many different stories. And I really love it. Every bit of it.
You tell that story so well with your businesses and with the projects you've set up, including Cham here in Vancouver. But before you started that, you actually had a successful food truck business that transitioned into a catering service, something that's near and dear to my heart and where my career is. So this was actually in Toronto, called North Saigon. So tell me a little bit about that and what was that experience like?
So North Saigon began as a food truck, and actually initially when I first started, the business model was pay what you can. And I thought it was quite fair because most people in downtown Toronto, they would when I started my food truck, they would buy food and then they would also pay forward. And so sometimes they would pay for a meal and then they would give me extra money so that I could pass on a meal to someone else in need, which I thought was very thoughtful and very nice. And then for those people who couldn't actually afford a meal, they could come to my food truck and pick up something to eat and fill their stomachs.
Amazing. And tell me what was some of the a pay what you can model is brilliant. It's bold and it really kind of bets on yourself and bets on your food and bets on the the kindness and decency of others. And it sounds like it was a success for you. And tell me about how that transitioned into doing like office catering and film catering and some of the other stuff that came as a result of that.
So I think that people just the word got out, and a few companies found me, and they had asked if I wanted to cater for their offices. And I also work with third-party catering services as well, and so they would book me. And then it was, I just like yourself, I did a lot of events, different kinds of events. So it would range from office catering to more exclusive private dining events. So yeah, it was quite successful, and then COVID happened. So.
And so talk to me a bit about your move to Vancouver. So this happened in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. I believe you moved here in, what was it, October, November? November. So you're moving sort of in the middle of this crazy pandemic. What prompted that move, and what inspired you to start Cham once you arrived here?
So I have family in Vancouver, whereas in Toronto I was on my own for quite some time, and it really got me thinking that I did a lot of reflecting, a lot of soul searching, and I realized I really wanted to be closer to my family. And my sister lived here, and she had encouraged me to come here. But it's really hard to leave your comfort zone, and I didn't want to leave Toronto. I have so many friends there, and I set up a successful business there. I was catering at so many different offices and firms. So when I came here, I wasn't sure that the plant-based model would work for me because my food was a hit with meat eaters, right? And when I decided I didn't want to eat meat anymore, I wasn't sure what the feedback would be like from the community. But so far, it's been pretty great.
And talk to me about that decision for yourself. That was a kind of a personal decision for you. What prompted that decision for you to take on a plant-based lifestyle?
For myself, it was a lot of health reasons. I found that ever since I switched over to a plant-based diet, I feel a lot better, more energized. And it's also the more sustainable choice. And I think that as chefs, even for yourself, I'm sure you've thought about this. We really need to make better decisions for the future and like generations. We need to be a leading example for other up and coming chefs, people going into the food industry. I think that and there's a shift right now. More and more people are adopting a plant-based lifestyle, and we need to be able to provide options.
Absolutely, and I think for myself, and I think a lot of chefs, I'm not sure if you saw the news that 11 Madison Park, one of the best restaurants in the world, is actually making a shift to 100% plant-based, which is insane, sending shockwaves through the industry. And that's what's needed to have, as you mentioned, leaders stepping up and making really socially responsible choices about sourcing. And you're one of those pie chefs had maybe that defining moment, that defining choice where you say, okay, the way that we're doing this just isn't going to work now, and it's not sustainable for the future. And the fact you've been so clear about that is really important and valuable. How do you think? How hard was it to stay? Did you have any challenges staying authentic to Vietnamese cuisine while you made this switch to plant-based? What was that process like?
Not so much, because you know, I come from a Buddhist background, and I'm sure you're aware, having traveled through Vietnam, that there's a very large population of Buddhists in Vietnam, and at least once a month we eat vegan. So or we have, you know, vegan meals, and so there's me transitioning to a plant-based menu. Really didn't it didn't change too much, aside from, you know, not adding meat to the menu and swapping fish sauce for, you know, other fermented products. But I think that, like, the flavors are still very much on point. The technique is still very much similar to you know, my meat-based menu. So I didn't have too many challenges. No, if anything, I think that it's allowed me to be a bit more creative, and it's been actually more exciting than it has been challenging.
Very, very interesting. And talk to me, you know, not just the products themselves that you're doing at Chầm are unique, but the model is somewhat of a unique model. It's a really fast-growing, exciting sector of ghost kitchens. Tell me a little bit about that model, why you made that decision to you know, open Chầm in this style.
Well, you know, in Toronto, I was actually doing a very similar concept. Whatever you want to call it, a ghost kitchen, cloud kitchen, virtual kitchen. The only difference is that here we have access to takeout, so I can actually meet customers face to face and offer them, you know, good quality customer service. Whereas where in Toronto, when I was doing a very similar concept, actually when I started a ghost kitchen in Toronto, there weren't many other ghost kitchens. And so I remember when the Uber came to pick up my food, he was like, "What's going on here? I've never seen this before." Me inside, I had rented out the kitchen at a bar. And so yeah, when I started a few years ago, this model wasn't very popular, but it's gone mainstream now.
Yes, and here in Vancouver, I mean, you're certainly one of the pioneers, it sounds like, to have Uber drivers confused when showing to pick up your food, which is awesome. But lots of exciting things happen. I think the end result is that more customers can access, you know, more delicious options and great food and unique items that maybe otherwise wouldn't be accessible to them, and that's a win for everybody. And talk to me a little bit about your thoughts. How are you enjoying living in Vancouver so far? How has the sort of Vancouver and Toronto are quite a little bit different, right? And I'm sure I don't need to tell you that. A little bit or a lot, depending on who you ask, right? So how has the Vancouver locale influenced your culinary approach and your business?
I mean, for the most part, everyone has been pretty welcoming. They've been very accepting, and they've been very warm. And the space that I'm in right now, actually, through Commissary Connect and the Lazy Gourmet, it's a partnership between the two of them. The whole team behind this company, they've been so supportive, and I see my feet. They've been so supportive, nurturing almost, because I'm new, and so there's a lot of things that I don't know about Vancouver, and then there's people like yourself, obviously, who have reached out to me. So I guess like a lot of kindness from strangers in the community. Yeah, I guess it's been a pretty positive experience. The community everyone has been very warm and.
Awesome, and you're in such a great environment there in your kitchen with Commissary Connect and with Lazy Gourmet, and I'm not sure if you've had a chance to meet her yet, but the great Susan Mendelson, who was the founder of Lazy Gourmet. Wonderful. You have, yeah. So you're in good hands there, and she's she's a pioneer and a trailblazer, and just so and wonderful with her knowledge and how generous she is. So you're definitely in good hands. I have no doubt that nurturing great talented people is what they've been doing for 40 years. So I'm so happy to hear that. And talk to me a little bit about you've got this great growing business. You had at times multiple things going on. Like you're devoting so much time to helping others and nourishing others and feeding others. What do you do for yourself to unwind and relax and practice self-care?
You know what? I like to go to the gym. I like to work out. I like to go for walks. I need to take time for myself. I think that just resting and taking care of my mental health is so important. It's one of those things as an entrepreneur, your mental health really suffers because you put yourself last. I don't know if you struggle with the same things, but for myself, I find it very challenging to kind of keep my mental health, in check because I do put myself last, and so I do try to take out some time at least, a few times a week just to meditate. I do some yoga. I might go to the gym, but I do take time out to myself for myself, just to take care of my physical and mental well-being. And I also play chess. I read that you're an avid.
Oh, really? Oh, we'll have to go head to head sometime, whether it's in person or socially distanced or online. We'll see. But yes, I wish there was a cool show like the Queen's Gambit when I was in school to make chess cool, because it definitely was not. Chess club was not a cool thing.
I was in a chess club too, and it was not like.
It was not like it was on Netflix. There was no people cheering for me coming out of there was none of that. But I embrace.
Kind of take a load off and just relax.
I embrace the nerdiness full on. And so you hit on a really important subject too of like kind of taking care of yourself last. And I think that's something that it's sort of a double whammy of like hospitality or chefs who are, their whole career is devoted to others, and then entrepreneurs where historically, you're the last one to eat, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
So you've got these two forces that are converging. So I think hospitality entrepreneurs really struggle with this. I know I did for a really long time to just prioritize that and make time for myself as you're identifying. If there's somebody listening to this that is considering and is passionate and wants to start their own project, whatever it is, what advice would you have for them?
Ask for help and take it because you're going to need it. I think one of the things that I didn't realize in the beginning when I started my journey was that I need a lot of help. And, as entrepreneurs, sometimes you think you can just do everything yourself. And I don't have a business partner, right? So I do everything myself. I try to do as much as I can. But now I've learned to ask for help and, accept help when it's available. I think it really...
I couldn't agree with you more. Yes, and sometimes there's that tendency with entrepreneurs, especially first-time entrepreneurs, that they want to forge their own path and do their own thing, and you realize pretty quickly that you get there a lot faster if you get some help from somebody who's done it before.
Absolutely. Yes.
Super valuable insights, and I want to just briefly touch on your thoughts on this crazy, expanding, and dynamic plant-based sector. I mean, where do you think? What do you think the future holds for people that are living a plant-based lifestyle?
I think there's just going to be more options. I think that it's not going to be, the stigma of adopting a plant-based diet is no longer. I don't think it's there anymore. If anything, it's the norm. It's totally acceptable. You're not a weirdo anymore if you're vegan. Sorry, I apologize for that word, but.
No, you're right.
Yeah,
I mean, it used to be not long ago. It was a fringe. It was a sort of almost on the fringe, right? Like, oh man, it was kale and tofu, and now it's anything. It's anything but that, right?
And as a business owner too, I think that if you're, if you don't have any plant-based options on your menu, it kind of hurts you too, because I think that there's so many people in the community now who have adopted a plant-based diet that not having that option available to them is it's too bad. It's unfortunate.
I couldn't agree. more. We've got a couple of questions coming in from our listeners here. So we've got a question from Instagram. What are some of your favorite places to eat in Vancouver that you've discovered so far?
So far, I really like meat. Yeah. They have some pretty delicious items on their menu. I haven't been able to go out too much because, I'm always stuck in the kitchen. Like
you're working, yeah, always.
I work a lot, maybe 12, 16 hours a day. I'm working.
Wow.
So I don't really get out much. But when I do go out, I like going for ice cream. So I think it's there's a place. I forget that. So
is it a plant-based ice cream?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like a jar, a glass jar.
Oh, Ernest ice cream, is that what you're referring to? Ernest ice cream,
yeah.
They have a great vegan ice cream, yeah.
Yeah, and they also do a really good vegan sundae. So one of my customers brought over one of their vegan sundaes for me one time, and it was absolutely delicious.
Wow.
But
Amazing.
I would like recommendations as well, so if anyone has any recommendations, feel free to send them over to me because I'm new and I would love to explore different places.
Yeah, let everybody, if you have a plant-based recommendation in Vancouver for a new Vancouverite, please comment them in our chat wherever you're watching so we can share them with Chef Kim. I'll give you one here before we answer another question. If you haven't been to, well, I'll give you two. The Acorn, which is it actually won an award for the best vegan restaurant in the world, and it's right here in Vancouver. So it's incredible. Yeah, it's near Maine and King Edward, and it's an absolutely incredible place. They do dinner and brunch on the weekends. Highly recommend.
I'm gonna have to go. I'm excited to try it now.
Yes, and I'm sure our listeners are going to comment a bunch of other ones. We have another one coming in from Instagram here. This is a great question. What are some common misconceptions about Vietnamese food that you'd like to dispel?
Perhaps the most common misconception about Vietnamese food is that it's cheap. And I would really like to dispel that misconception because, if anything, I do really focus on good quality products. The labor that goes behind creating Vietnamese dishes, it's absolutely labor intensive. The products, I go meet with manufacturers in Vietnam all the time, rice farmers, and I know the amount of work and detail that goes into creating all of the different products and cultivating all of the different crops and so forth. And so I know from first-hand knowledge that it's absolutely not cheap. And so people like to think that Vietnamese food is really cheap because, when I guess my parents' generation before them, a lot of Vietnamese refugees, when they first came to Canada, they had to open up Vietnamese restaurants and make do with, very little money that they had. So when they did open those restaurants, they couldn't offer much, right? So I think that people still have that misconception that that's what Vietnamese food is. But I think it's evolved a lot over the years. And so, it's anything but cheap. It's not cheap at all.
And that's a really important distinction. And I'm not sure if you watch, the Netflix show Chef's Table, or if you're familiar with some of the chefs that have been on there. But there are a few pioneering chefs from these regions, India and Mexico City. So, Gagan and Enrique Olvera, who have, world famous restaurants. But they are, pioneers of people that have the presumption that a certain type of food, because that's how it's accessed when in their country, is cheap, but there's really so much more of a story that can be told and so much more educating that can be done. And I mean, maybe if you ever decide to open a restaurant, you'll be that pioneer. I hope you would at some point of Vietnamese cuisine, and I have no doubt you'll be successful. I want to ask you sort of a standard question here on the Wellness Hub, and I know chefs get asked this a lot, but I'm going to ask it anyways. So what is when you're feeling like you need something to make you feel nourished and full and satisfied, what is your favorite go-to meal, either to cook for yourself or to eat?
For me, it has to be instant noodles. There's something about instant noodles because I grew up eating a lot of instant noodles. My parents were blue-collar workers, so they always bought big boxes of instant noodles. And it's not about being a college student and not having money to buy food. But there's something so comforting to me about eating instant noodles, and I'll broth. But it's just so comforting, and you know, if I'm having a bad day, it just makes me feel better eating instant noodles.
I you know, it's funny. I feel like we somehow, like, instant noodles reference gets made in almost every episode that we do of the Wellness Hub here. It's just one of those things that are. Oh, we have a question here from Instagram that just came in. What's your top instant noodle flavor or brand? This is a hot topic.
So there's this Indonesian brand right now that so when I used to eat meat, it was a dried mee goreng from Indomie. But now they have a vegan version, a plant-based one. So I've been really hooked on that.
Awesome. That is a hot tip for the listening audience, because I'm sure, I mean, myself included, one of the guilty pleasures is instant noodles or instant ramen. There's nothing more comforting, in my opinion. Perfect. And so for our listeners, Chef Kim, where can they go to learn more about you, about your businesses, and all the exciting projects that you're working on?
So right now, I guess just my website at www.chamvegan.com. I update my Instagram quite frequently, so you can see the upcoming projects and whatever it is that I'm working on through there. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. And of course, you can always stop by and chat with me at 1605 West 5th Avenue. We're here every day except Mondays. And I'm probably here too every day except Mondays. So you can come by, chat, say hello, or drop me an email at info@chamvegan.com.
Perfect. Well, I'm sure you're going to be getting some people stopping by or saying hi, or some people wanting to connect with your delicious food. And thank you so much, Chef Kim, for sharing your story with us. And I know you're in the middle of it here. You're in the middle of dinner service, and I know how valuable your time is. So
dinner service, honestly, it's been so fortunate that we've gotten so busy over the last little while.
Amazing.
It's nonstop, and I'm so grateful for that.
Amazing. And I think it's only going to be getting busier and busier from the sounds of it. I might place an order as soon as we get off here to come picked up, because I'm starving.
The chicken wings are our bestseller at the
bestseller. Okay, there you have it, people. The plant-based chicken wings are the must-order item at Chầm Vegan. Chef Kim, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be sure to keep you updated on everything, and I can't wait to see what you do next. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Wow, how badly are you craving some of Chef Kim's food right now after seeing those beautiful photos and hearing more about her story and her journey? I mean, stories like Kim's are what we're so passionate about here at the Wellness Hub, and entrepreneurs like her who have the courage and the tenacity to put their own unique spin on traditions are what keeps the plant-based movement so fascinating and dynamic. And with advances like technology making ghost kitchens possible, the barriers to entry become lower and lower, and it means more amazing individuals like Kim will be able to tell their unique stories through their businesses. And if you're listening to this and you're curious or perhaps even skeptical about a plant-based diet, I'm not here to convince you. I'm not here to lecture you. I'm not here to tell you what's right or what's wrong. There's plenty of information out there for you to make your own informed decisions. But what I am here to do is showcase the hard work and courage of innovators like Kim, who are trying new and exciting and wonderful things and finding unique ways to share it with you. And if that resonates with you, if that ignites a spark of curiosity to try something new yourself, well, then we've all done our job here with this little program we try to bring you each week. Thank you for tuning in tonight. If you'd like to engage with us and join the discussion, please follow us on YouTube, Instagram, or LinkedIn at UpMeals. We'll see you next Wednesday evening right here on the Wellness Hub for another great conversation. I'm Drew Munro. Until then, take care and be well.